We should point out that Hailey Stevens is not a socialist and Abdul El-Sayed is not a communist, though he is notably further left than Stevens was, and he's now going to be the general election candidate. How steep is his uphill climb if he wants to beat Mike Rogers?
Well, I think there's an overemphasis on sort of the difference between these candidates and what the fall campaign is going to shape up to be about. Because at the end of the day, what we have is a president with historically poor approval ratings, and there is a high disapproval level in Michigan. And so it's going to be a race really between the Democratic senatorial candidate and the Republican senatorial candidate. It is not necessarily going to be a discussion about the finite policy differences within or among Democrats. And let me just say, sort of at the outset, we are in a completely normal cycle. When parties lose a presidency, they spend the next midterm cycle essentially having factional disputes and contests where their different ideological wings are looking to gain prominence. And what you'll see is that this debate over which direction the Democratic Party goes in won't be settled until they choose a presidential nominee in 2028.
Well, so who's leading in that internal contest? Lara Brown, we see William Lawrence last evening, founder of the Sunrise Movement, defeating two moderate candidates. This is still in Michigan. This is the 7th district to compete with Congressman Tom Barrett in the general election. Then again, we saw Representative Wesley Bell beat Cori Bush again. Is there actually a narrative here, or is this something that the media is trying to connect the dots on?
I actually don't think there is a narrative. I think what we are going to see is a lot of candidates appealing to local concerns. And the one major concern out there is the economy, and people are feeling the pinch of higher gas prices. They are displeased with the inflation rate. You also have the issue of the war, and certainly for those in Michigan, tariffs on Canada have been a blow to their economy. So there are a lot of reasons to reject essentially the president's party and his candidates. You also have a gubernatorial candidate in Jocelyn Benson, who won a very large Democratic primary race. And she is going to be sort of campaigning statewide at the same time that El-Sayed is. And I think what you'll see is how much they are able to galvanize the Michigan Democratic Party and those independents displeased with the Trump administration to push them over the top.
Mm-hmm. Well, so when we consider then where those independents are going to go, Lara, I wonder how you view the available share of votes. This is a conversation we were having in 2024 as well. How is it shaping up in 2026 as we consider the ultimate balance of congressional power?
Well, I think what we have to do is look back at an analog. 2006 looks a lot like what we are seeing. A historically unpopular president, an unpopular war, issues of personal scandals, and also public corruption. All of those things are kind of combining to have the Democrats with a solid, north of 6 percentage point advantage on the generic ballot, and a very large disapproval rating of the president, which puts him on the ballot even though he is not.
I'd like to ask you about something that's taking place here in Washington among members already elected. We heard from Chuck Edwards in the middle of the night. Lara, it was about 3:30 in the morning. The Republican from North Carolina announcing he's dropping his re-election bid following a House Ethics Committee report that recommended he be censured. There's still a huge question over Max Miller, and I'm wondering your thoughts on this, because the congressman is pointing to Speaker Johnson and the president, saying nobody's asked me to bow out over what are very serious domestic abuse allegations. We know that the speaker has a very thin margin to protect, but I'm wondering your thoughts on how this might resolve. Does Max Miller need to step down on his own or be forced out?
So, having written both a dissertation on congressional scandals and published subsequently on sex scandals, I can tell you that really what is happening and what has always happened is that partisans rally around their tainted member. And it's very rare that they push them out. And the only time that they really do is when they think that that reputational taint will in fact sort of infect the rest of the party brand. So the real question is, how high a profile do these allegations against Max Miller continue to become, and whether or not Johnson feels that it is now important for him to distance his conference from this representative. We saw this obviously with the Democrats, with issues that they had. So it is a question of how bad does it look, not necessarily how bad are the allegations.
Mm-hmm.
It's also striking to consider that it's not just about his House seat or the House.
Yes.
There's also a gubernatorial race and a Senate race in Ohio in which Republicans may be concerned about the blowback as well.
Yeah, this is quite a story.
That's right.
Lara
And
Brown,
just going back to
back.
2006.
Yeah, 30 seconds, Lara.
Sure. If you look at 2006, we saw both Tom DeLay and Bob Ney run for their primaries, win their primaries, and then resign before the general elections because both had corruption issues with then lobbyist Jack Abramoff.
Tom DeLay reference. We're hitting it all today.